Hello, my friends. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Put on your headphones, turn off the lights, and let's embark on a new story full of interesting events that will impress you. Do you believe in the existence of ghosts, my friends? Let me tell you a true story that happened several years ago to Frank and John, two young men whose friendship began in school. They both became teachers at the same school that taught them about science and study matters. John was a genius mathematics professor who explained lessons in a brilliant way to his students. As for Frank, he was a geography professor who loved learning about all the places in the world. The story began when strange things started happening in the school. One day, when the students gathered and entered their classes, Frank noticed something written on the board: "I'm back for revenge." Frank wasn't afraid at the time, but he was curious about who wrote it. The next day, after a long day of teaching, John and Frank met for dinner as usual. Frank remembered the words on the board and told his friend about them. To his shock, John revealed that he had seen similar messages. In the last week, he found a message in his bag written in red: "You will not survive me." On another day, he found some words and drawings on his classroom table. Written in it, "You will burn," with a drawing of the shape of a black fire. They didn't know who was sending them these threats, but they had no choice but to forget about it since nothing happened other than the words they saw. After a few days, Frank went to school to retrieve papers related to an upcoming exam. He asked the person in charge of the school locks for the keys, who gave them to him and told him he heard strange noises while closing the school and checking the classrooms. Frank went into the school, and when he arrived, he parked his car and headed inside. He noticed a red light on the upper floor, and his heart began to race. He remembered the words of the official and hesitated to enter, but he had to bring the papers. When he walked through the side door of the school and entered, he felt a strange feeling and his body began to shake. He went to his classroom, opened the door quickly, and retrieved the papers. But when he approached the door, he found it closed. Frank forgot the keys on the door, and he started trying to open the door, but he couldn't because it was locked from the outside. He heard a sound that made his blood stop for a moment. Yes, he heard a terrifying sound. Frank heard a scary voice saying to him, "Frank, the damned boy, I have been waiting for this day for 15 years." Frank started screaming, but no one heard him. He heard an evil laugh full of hatred and malice, which increased his terror. Frank pulled himself together and asked, "Who are you? What do you want from me? I didn't do anything to you." The ghost replied, "You and your friend John hurt my little boy 15 years ago. You threw hot water on him in the bathroom." Frank didn't remember or understand anything. The ghost continued, "You hurt him a lot. I have been waiting for revenge for 15 years. Frank fainted, and the next morning, he was found on the ground with his clothes torn and some scratch marks on his neck and some minor cuts on his face. He was taken to the hospital, where he stayed for a few days. Frank was traumatized and couldn't speak. After several attempts by the doctors, John managed to get him to talk, and Frank told him the whole story. The school was closed after that incident because of the ghost, and Frank suffered from psychological disorders. He went to several psychiatrists, and his condition improved, but he couldn't forget what happened. This is the story of the cursed ghost that ruined Frank's life and caused him trouble and fear. It is a lesson to be careful about small things that can turn our lives upside down. Thank you for listening, my friends. and don't forget to follow our channel for more true, mysterious stories with useful lessons. Like the video, and stay well.